Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Downriver Rescue Connection. I'm your host, Patty Radikovich, and it is my privilege to bring you information on animal-related topics and the animal rescue community. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, Donna Clemens, and her guide dog, Katy. Donna is actually the wife of one of our volunteers, Pat Clemens, so I want to welcome you to the show, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us come to your show.
Yeah, so today Donna is going to be telling us information about having a guide dog and basically how the guide dog has helped you and about the training process and everything like that. So Donna, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit of information about yourself?
Okay, first of all, I was diagnosed at 19 with retinitis pigmentosa, Usher's syndrome. And what that is deterioration of the retina and with hearing loss. So I was blessed with two disabilities, not one. So the eyesight and the ears. I wear hearing aids. I do very well with hearing aids. And I have a guide dog to help me out with my vision.
Great. So at what point did you decide that a guide dog was right for you?
Well, at 30, I decided to stop driving the car, and I was stuck at home. And I wanted to be more independent, and I couldn't trust myself going out by myself. So at that point, I decided I needed a guide dog to get me along safely.
Great. So how many guide dogs have you had?
Okay, Katy is my second leader dog.
Okay.
My first leader dog was Abby. I received her in 1991. She was a black flat-coated retriever, and I worked Abby until 2003, and that's when I retired Abby, and I received Katy, my current leader dog.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit, when you get a guide dog, does the guide dog already come trained, or do you have to do training with the dog?
Okay. You go to the school in Rochester, Michigan, and you're trained there. You're there for 27 days with the dog, bonding with the dog, learning how to use the dog. They take you out on
outings?
On outings.
Mm-hmm.
They take you out on outings on the public malls. They show you how to work with your dog, train with the dog.
Okay, great. And so you said that's 27 days. So you are trained at the same time that the dog is trained.
Exactly. Yeah. And the most important thing is bonding with your dog and learning to trust your dog. When you bond with your dog, it's very important. You got to remember that these dogs, when you receive these dogs, they're like 17 months to 2 years old when you get these dogs. So they've been through their moms, then they go to leader dog for about a week, and then they go to a puppy raiser, and they stay with a puppy raiser for about a year to 15 months, and then they go back to the school for formal training to be a guide dog. Then they're with their trainer for 6 months. So these dogs have gone to so many people before they are actually placed with a blind, visually impaired person. So it's very important to bond with your dog.
Okay, so can you tell us then, what does Katy help you do, or what does any guide dog help you do?
They give you your independence. Katy and I, we can walk down the street very independently. She stops at curbs. She keeps me safe. She's not going to walk me out in front of traffic or in a pole, run me into a pole or anything. She keeps me very safe.
Okay, so I bet you probably have a lot of funny stories from, working on training with a dog. So can you share any of those stories with us?
Sure. Well, when I first got Katy, we were walking on a dock, and I told Katy, forward. And I told Katy, she stopped, and she walked right in front of my knees. And she stood there, and I said, Katy, forward. I was getting frustrated. She would not move. So I decided, oh, I'm going to walk around her. And guess what? Splash. Right in the water I went. Katy looked at me, and she said, see, Mom, I told you to listen to me. Now, that is called good disobedience. She wasn't listening to what I was saying. He was telling me, no, this is dangerous. You cannot move.
Right, so that's part of the bonding process with the dog then, is learning to trust the dog, right?
And trust, yes, the trust, definitely.
So when you have a dog, how long does it usually take you to develop that relationship where you do trust the dog implicitly?
Approximately, probably about a year, maybe a year to 15 months to really get that trust in your dog.
Okay.
Now, my first dog, Abby, she was, we worked together for 14 years. She was a black lab. And Abby and I were like on autopilot. She knew what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And she knew everything I wanted to do. And then that goes with the trust and the bonding and the years of experience with a guide dog. Katy and I, we've been working now for over 10 years, so Katy is on autopilot now.
So now, even though all the dogs are trained the same way, I'm sure each dog is different.
Yeah.
So how does that work? How do you pick up on those differences? And
well, the differences are between my two dogs. My first dog, Abby, was more laid back, calm and relaxed, quiet dog. Katy was more happy, excitable, vocal dog. So Abby was she just walked real nice with me. And Katy, I did have trouble with Katy at first, walking distractions, but she, within time, it comes.
okay, so now what's the difference between having a guide dog that's your service dog and having a pet? What's your relationship? What's the difference?
The difference between a pet can do anything it wants. And a guide dog is more of a trained, they're more quiet. They know that they have to work.
Okay.
They're just really more relaxed.
So now are there times then where they don't work and they are more of a pet, like a family pet, or is it always a working dog?
No. Katy, when the harness is off, she's a regular dog, and she plays in the backyard, and she barks in the backyard, and she's off duty at that time. But she does know the difference between working and not working. When I get the harness out and put that harness on her, she knows, okay, that's it. I got to work.
Great, so she knows she has a job, and that's her cue, is the harness is her cue. So now, Katy, you said you've had Katy for about 10 years now. So
correct.
At what point do you decide to retire a dog?
Well, there's 3 or 4 different issues with that. You can go with the medical aspect, arthritis. My first dog had arthritis, and she was slowing down. And what they do is they slow down. Abby slowed me down. Like, we'd go to the mall, and she wouldn't want to work. She just would really go slow me down, where I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I says, well, it's time. And then sometimes if they have medical issues, then of course you're going to have to retire them sooner.
So when you retire the dog, what happens?
The dog stays with you. If you want to keep him, yes. The dog stays with you, and Abby stayed with me, and I kept her as a pet. And she was just a retired dog. And a cute story I have is Abby was retired, and I had Katy, and I would get the harness for Katy to go work, and Abby would come up, and she would want to put her head in the harness. And I said, no, Abby, you're retired now. It's Katy's turn to work. So that I would take Abby around later on. I would take her with leash around the block, and she thought she was still working.
Oh, okay, so she still wanted to do that job for you.
Right. They just love to work. They love to work.
Great. So now I know sometimes people don't understand how they're going to approach a dog. So if somebody were to see a working dog, and I know that dogs usually have signs on them, but how is somebody supposed to approach a dog, or should they even approach a dog?
Well, it's only natural for people to come up and pet the dog. They don't even look at the sign. They just automatically put their hands on the dog. And I usually have to say, no, no, she's working, if you don't mind. That will distract the dog. So I usually tell them in a nice way that this is a working dog. She will be distracted if you pet her. I have a cousin that Katy knows, and Katy goes nuts over him. He has a beard, he's kind of a tall man. And every time Katy sees a tall man with a beard, she thinks it's my cousin. And she gets distracted, and she doesn't want to work. So there's still dogs that way.
Mm-hmm. So how do you handle that situation when she doesn't really want to work?
I try to turn and go the other way.
Okay. All right, so now in addition to, you know, how people should approach a dog, people should approach a visually impaired person in a specific way as well. And so we're going to do a little demonstration, and one of our volunteers, Jane, is going to come and do the demonstration. So you're going to show people the wrong way and the right way to approach somebody who's visually impaired. So hopefully Katy will stay while you do this, and and we'll show everybody. So
Okay, Katy, stay. Okay, I need to find the restroom.
Hello? I heard that you need to go to the restroom. You want me to take you there? Okay.
Yeah. No, hey! No, that is the wrong way to approach a blind, visually impaired person.
okay, and what specifically was the wrong way about it? Was it her grabbing you? Or?
She grabbed me. Us blind people and visually impaired people do not like to be grabbed.
Okay.
It's just, it startles us. So
Okay.
It's just terrible. It's very wrong.
Okay, so now let's show us the right way.
Okay. Is there a restroom around?
Hello? I heard you need a restroom. May I help you?
Yes, yes. Can you guide me to a restroom, please?
Sure. You want me to take your arm or you want to take my arm?
I'll take your arm.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
There we go.
Okay. Thank you, Jade, for your assistance, and thank you, Donna. So that's an example of how not to approach a visually impaired person and how to approach. So like you said, you don't want to be grabbed. It startles you, and so if somebody wants to help you, you know, they ask, you know, how would you like me to help you? Do you want to hold my arm, or, you know, can I take yours? So
Correct.
now, are there other little tips that you want to tell people, things that people do wrong unintentionally that's upsetting to you or to the dog?
Really, the most important thing is grabbing. People grab you.
Mm-hmm.
They just, and it startles us. And you don't, you get frightened.
Right.
Because you don't know where it's coming from, and someone grabs you.
Right.
Or grabs you from behind. It's very, it's displeasing.
Right. So can you give us some more examples of bonding and training with the dog, like maybe some more stories about working with Katy or with Abby?
Okay, like I said, Abby was more of a laid-back, calm, relaxed dog. When Abby and I used to walk around the neighborhood, Abby used to walk me around the sprinklers, and where she didn't want to get wet. So we walked around the sprinklers, and then that was cool. And then when I got Katy, I expected Katy to do the same thing, right? Wrong. Totally wrong. Katy went right through the sprinklers. I think she wanted to get wet. You know, labs like water.
Right. Right.
And we got wet. So that was another funny story. And then Katy, being very excitable and happy, happy dog. We were working on our obedience in the backyard, and I told Katy to come. And Katy would come up to me, and her forehead hit my cheekbone. She ended up giving me a black eye.
Oh, no.
Made my husband look real good. But those are just some of the funny stories we've had through the years. But I enjoy working with a leader dog. It is so much better than working with a cane. And the dogs, they work tremendously for you. They are so smart. They know their right, their left, doors, elevators. In fact, recently, Katy was on an airplane with me.
Okay.
And Katy and I were searched at the airport, patted down. She did not like that one bit.
They patted Katy down?
Patted Katy down. And they patted me down. And Katy stood right in front of me while they patted me down.
Mm-hmm.
She did not like it. But we were okay, and she did wonderful on the plane.
Great. So that's great that, you know, obviously she gives you back that independence that you want, so you can do whatever you want and go wherever you want to go. So that's wonderful that you're able to have a dog. When you originally decided to have a leader dog, was there a waiting period for the dog, or is it just something that you sign up and they automatically give you a dog? How does that work?
There is a waiting period. You have to fill out an application. You have to have your doctors approve your application, and it takes probably about 3 to 4 months before the leader dog calls you and says, well, we have this available to come in. And then you come in, you go to the school, and it's a dormitory, and you stay there for 27 days. They feed you, you have your own room, and they give you your dog. They match you up with your dog with what type of environment you live in, if you're working or you live on a farm or that kind
Right.
of thing. That's how they match you up with the dog you want. And then, like I said, you're there for 27 days working with your dog and bonding with your dog, and that's about it. And then they send you home after that. And if you have any other problems, you give them a call and they'll come out and send a rep out to you to help with whatever problems you're having or so forth.
Great. Well, it was, I'm glad. Now, see, Katy, this is what she's supposed to be doing, right? She's just sleeping by your feet.
Yes. Exactly. What they do, they sleep all the time.
Until they're ready. Until they're ready
to work.
Great.
You get the harness and she's ready.
Great. Well, I appreciate you coming out and talking to us. Do you ever talk to other groups?
Pardon me?
Do you ever talk to other groups about having a guide dog?
Yes.
Yeah. Who else do you talk to?
I was talked to the visually-impaired blind group at KSC. They meet once a month, and we were there. We talked there with the dogs and did a demonstration. And what else? We've gone to schools.
Okay.
Talk to different, especially kids. Kids love dogs. And kids will tell their parent, that is a working dog. You do not pet that dog.
Great.
Because of the sign. And then the kids know more than the parent.
Right. And that happens a lot of times. The kids end up knowing more. So.
Exactly.
So if somebody wanted to have a demonstration at their school, they could come and they could contact Basil's Buddies, and we could get in touch with you. And if you're available, maybe you'd be willing to go and talk to them at their school.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us about having a guide dog and educating us about the proper way to approach guide dogs and to approach visually impaired people. So I want to thank you and Katy for coming on.
No problem. Thank you.
So I want to, now like we do on every show, we always have some adoptable pets. And today we have special guests from Metro Area Animal Adoption Association. They're actually going to be on our show in a couple of weeks, maybe about a month, but they brought a few of their pets today, so I'd like to introduce Julie. And she is going to bring out one of the dogs that she has, which I think is Sarge. So welcome, Julie. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting us, Patty. Sarge, sit.
Down,
Good boy.
down. Good girl.
Sarge.
Katie's now very interested, not sleeping.
This is Sarge. He is 2 years old. We originally pulled Sarge from Wyandotte Pound. Sit, Sarge. Back in the beginning of January. So we've had him 5 months. When we first pulled him, he was a little out of control. With a lot of training, he's become a really, really good dog. He knows some basic commands. He'll sit, he'll stay. Takes a cookie, great. He knows I have cookies.
Of course.
Sit. Sarge, down. Good boy, take it nice. He seems to know. Sarge, back. Sit. Good boy. He knows when you have him with kids. Little kids, he's real gentle with. Bigger kids, he will jump up on, but the littler kids, he knows. He seems to know. So he is definitely looking for his forever home. Sarge, good boy.
Okay, and if somebody was interested in adopting him, where would they go? I know we've got your website that we're going to put up on your phone and email, but what's the best way to contact you?
The best way to contact us, basically, you can put an application in online to start with, or if you just want to know some more information about him, he is at our website, or you can call our office and ask questions. You'll usually get an answering machine, but they will call you back within 48 hours, or you can send us an email, which is also on the website. You can send us an email about him, and we will contact you.
Great. Well, he's a very nice and quiet dog, and I know you have a cat here too.
We do. We have Madeline.
So, so we'll get the cat to come on out. And like I said, Metro is going to be on our show in a couple of weeks, maybe a month, so we're going to learn more about you guys at that time, and they'll bring more of their animals. So this is Madeline.
This is Madeline. Madeline is a 5-year-old. We call her a domestic long-haired calico. She came to us. We pulled her from a pound again, along with her kittens. She was found as a stray with her kittens. We've had Madeline for 2 years already. She just keeps getting overlooked. She doesn't like dogs. She's not real fond of them. She does get along with other cats if she's properly introduced with them, but she would love to be the only cat. At home, she's quite playful. She likes to play with her toys. She likes to be cuddled, and as you can see, she likes to be petted, and she'll purr. She has gorgeous emerald green eyes. I don't know, she's actually a really lovely cat. A lot of people don't go for the older cats. They say 5 years old is too old. Cats live to be 20 years old. So it makes no sense. She's not doing the kitten thing. She's not tearing apart the furniture, and she's not, running all over things and knocking things over. She's perfect. So if anybody's interested in her, again, you can go to our website. You can put your application in. Her picture's on the website. I don't know.
Great.
I guess that's it.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for
welcome.
bringing Sarge and Madeline here. I can take her if she's getting heavy while you're...
She's actually very light. She weighs about 6 pounds.
So I wanted to again thank Donna and Katy for being on the show, and of course Katy's looking to see Madeline too. And thank you, Julie, for bringing Sarge and Madeline.
Thank you, Katy.
We all look forward to a day when all pets are treated like family and everyone has a home. Until that time, we invite you to be part of the solution. And remember, please spay and neuter your pets. See you next time.
Bye.